Good morning. Michigan Independent Citizens Redistricting Commission appreciates the opportunity to be live in Detroit. We look forward to hearing from you. As chair of the commission, I call this meeting of the Michigan Independent Citizens Redistricting Commission to order at 9:10 a.m. This Zoom webinar is live streamed on YouTube on the Michigan Independent Citizens Redistricting Commission YouTube channel. For anyone in the public watching who would prefer to watch. You guys can't hear? Okay,
We can hear.
okay. The people in house are having a hard time hearing, so it'll be taken
Oh,
care
I
of.
see. Okay.
Okay. For anyone in the public watching who would prefer to watch via a different platform than they are currently using, please visit our social media at Redistricting MI. Our live stream today includes closed captioning. Closed captioning, ASL interpretation, Spanish, Arabic, and Bengali translation services will be provided for effective participation in this meeting. Email us at redistricting@michigan.gov for additional viewing options or details on accessing language translation services for this meeting. People with disabilities needing other specific accommodations should also contact redistricting@michigan.gov. This meeting is being recorded and will be available at www.michigan.gov/MICRC for viewing at a later date. This meeting is also being transcribed, and those closed caption transcripts will be made available and posted on the michigan.gov/MICRC website, along with written public comment submissions. There is also a public comment portal that may be accessed by visiting michigan.gov/MICRC. Members of the media who may have questions before, during, or after this meeting should direct those questions towards Edward Woods III, Executive Director for the Commission, at woodse3@michigan.gov or 517-331-6309. For the public watching and the public record, I will turn to Department of State staff to take note of the commissioners present.
Good morning and good morning, commissioners. Commissioners, please say present when I call your name. If you're attending the meeting remotely, please announce during roll call where you are attending the meeting from, including the county, city, township, state, and the village from which you're attending. I will begin roll call alphabetically, beginning with Commissioner Andrade.
Present.
Commissioner Callahan. Commissioner Curry. Commissioner Eid.
Present.
Commissioner Kellum.
Present, attending remotely from Wayne County.
Commissioner Lang.
Present, attending remotely from Reed City, Michigan.
Commissioner Letts.
Present, attending remotely from Southfield.
Commissioner Muldoon.
Present.
Commissioner Orton.
Present.
Commissioner Zatella.
Present, attending from Wayne County, Michigan.
Commissioner Vallette.
Present.
Commissioner Wagner. Commissioner Weiss.
Present, attending remotely from Saginaw Township, Saginaw, Michigan.
Madam Chair, we have a quorum with 10 commissioners present. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Ms. Young. As a reminder to the public watching, you can view the agenda at www.michigan.gov/MICRC. I would now entertain a motion to approve the meeting agenda.
So moved.
Second.
Moved and seconded. Any discussion on the agenda? I do have a question for Director Woods. I believe we completed more work, got to a point yesterday that faster than we were expecting. So I think we have less that we need to accomplish today. So I'm thinking we won't go till 5:30.
Madam Chairperson, my goal is to get you out of here no later than noon.
Okay, so on the agenda, we have mapping as the most part after the public comment. So I know we have a presentation, I think. Does that go along with mapping?
Right, the mapping process and procedures. Sarah Reinhardt's going to do a presentation, more for information only,
Okay,
but the vote will not be taken until Monday.
okay,
So it's just to give the commission something to think about, in terms of how we want to move forward. And that's all that will take place.
okay. All right. Commissioner Lang.
Yes, I was actually going to ask if maybe we could move the executive director reports in the presentations up to the beginning. I know there's a lot of commissioners that are sick right now, so maybe if we could get that part of the commission business to the beginning and the mapping after that, that way, if some commissioners do need to drop off because they're ill, it won't affect us.
Okay, that sounds like a good idea.
Okay.
So I guess
So-
we need a motion
Yeah,
then to adjust
I'm-
the agenda.
Yeah, I motion that we adjust the agenda to move executive director report and our planned presentation by Ms. Reinhardt to the beginning of the agenda after public comment.
Do we have a second?
Second.
Okay, so we have a motion and a second to move the executive director report before the mapping on the agenda. Is there any discussion on that? Okay, so all in favor of making that move, raise your hand and say aye.
Aye.
Any
Aye.
Aye.
Thank you. Thank you. Any opposed, raise your hand and say nay. Okay, the ayes have it. So we will rearrange the agenda to reflect that. So I would entertain a motion to approve the amended agenda.
So moved.
Okay, so moved and seconded to approve the amended agenda. Discussion? Okay, all in favor of approving the amended agenda, raise your hand and say aye.
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 Any opposed, raise your hand and say nay. The amended agenda is approved. Okay. So now we are, okay, so without objection, I will ask our Executive Director, Edward Woods III, to present the public comment guidelines. Hearing no objection, please proceed, Mr. Woods.
Thank you, Madam Chairperson. Welcome, welcome, welcome. We've been in Detroit all week. And I've had the wonderful opportunity to hear from so many people with regards to how they feel the map should be drawn. We just have one simple rule, is just that we ask for that you respect the commission as the commission respects you. We ask that you direct your comments toward the commission and not to any individual commissioner or any innuendos or anything along those lines. You have up to 90 seconds to share. And it would be very helpful if you have a community of interest or something you want to talk about to specifically mention that in your comments so the commission can consider that in its deliberations in selecting a map for the Michigan House of Representatives. Once again, thank you so much for coming, and we look forward to hearing from you, whether you're in person or virtual. Thank you again.
Thank you, Mr. Woods. So Vice Chair Janice Follett will facilitate the public comment portion of today's meeting.
Individuals who have signed up and indicated they would like to provide in-person public commentary to the commission will now be allowed to do so. Please step to the nearest microphone when I call your number. You will have 90 seconds to address the commission. Please conclude your remarks when your 90 seconds have ended and you hear the timer. First in line to provide public comment is number 1.
Hello, my name is Kevin Deacon Kraus, and I'm a resident of Ferndale, Michigan. And I teach political science just down the road at Wayne State University. And I've been involved since 2017 in producing, helping to voters, not politicians, work on Proposition 2 and pass this. And so I come to you as someone who has been deeply involved in this process and someone who comes with a certain amount of awe for the work that you have done. I hope it's okay that I start today not so much with specific comments, but a broader effort, thanks and praise to all of you for the work that you've done. This is really remarkable. I want to thank you for your service. First, I know this is not easy, and I know that additional barriers have been put in your way, but the work that you've done has been amazing. I also want to thank you specifically for the work that you've done around making sure that the most marginalized voices, most marginalized communities in Michigan actually have as much access to the halls of power as everyone else. And in that regard, I really want to thank you as you've done your work for choosing those maps that really make sure that our most marginalized communities have that representation. It's not easy, and I know there are lots of different ways of doing it. But I've really appreciated the way that you all have tried to find a balance among the various options. In particular, I wanted to thank you for your willingness to bring in outside information, outside maps, the Trillium map and other maps. The willingness to sort of bring that information in, I think really helps, especially if it's time critical. Thank you very much for your service. I really appreciate it.
Thank you for addressing the commission. Next in line is number 2.
Good morning. I am Dr. Regina Randall, a 31-year veteran of Detroit Public Schools. I also bring you greetings from the Michigan Democratic Party, where I serve as executive officer at large. I read the statement of an elected official, and I thought it was fitting to read it again. This is from Commission Chair Alicia Bell of Wayne County. I stand united with the leaders from across Detroit to urge all Detroiters to give remarks as it relates to redrawing the 7 House districts, which dilutes African-American representation in our state government. We were all honored to grow up watching the leadership of Irma Henderson on the city council, Teola Hunter and Morris Hood in the state house, John Conyers and Carolyn Cheeks Kilpatrick as our congressmen. And let us not forget the first African-American mayor of Detroit, the Honorable Coleman Alexander Young Sr. Our young people deserve to have that opportunity, as well as they need to see it to believe it, just like us. They have to see persons that look like them in elected positions so that they know they can be a hold office as well. Especially in a city which is over 75% of African Americans. That is why it's important that we let our voices be heard and provide testimony this week as the Michigan Independent Citizens Commission accepts this testimony. Thank you.
Thank you for addressing the commission. Next in line is number 3.
Good morning. My name is Ahmed, and I live in Highland Park. Metro Detroit is home to the largest and most diverse Arab American, Middle Eastern, and North African community in the country. We are not represented in the census data as a unique racial and ethnic category. Therefore, we are not considered in this part of the political process of redistricting. Our community of interest, the Arab American and MENA American community, primarily lives in Dearborn, Dearborn Heights, West Detroit, and Melvindale, as well as other parts of Michigan, such as Hamtramck, Sterling Heights, Flint, Livonia, Canton, Ferndale, Ypsilanti, Ann Arbor. Yeah, we're all over the place. I support the Axis Community of Interest map C1510 that would keep our communities intact and be able to demonstrate their needs. Please take the time to redraw the house maps. Thank you.
Thank you for addressing the commission. Next in line is number 4.
Hello, Commissioners. My name is Kira Love. I live in West Bloomfield and I work at Access here in Wayne County. I'm a social worker. The Arab American and MENA communities, as Ahmed mentioned, are very large and diverse, concentrated in this area. Our community of interest as Access is the Arab American and MENA community. And it's primarily in Dearborn, Dearborn Heights, West Detroit, and Melvindale, as well as other parts of the state. And we have been involved in the economic and cultural development of Southeast Michigan in the last 50 years through our work. And we have seen that because the census categorizes Arab Americans and MENA Americans as white, it is very hard to quantify the needs and the size of this community. And this community of interest map C1510 would make that easier for us. It would make our work easier. It would make quantifying the size of the Arab American community easier. And it would make finding funding to create programs to address the needs of this community easier. So as commissioners, you have the ability to draw district lines and maps that would influence Michigan's state and national landscape for the next 10 years. And we urge you to consider the Arab American community of interest as you redraw these maps. Thank you.
Thank you for addressing the commission. Next in line is number 5.
Good morning, everyone. This is spontaneous. I wasn't expecting to be here today, so I don't really know who to address, but I would like to say that this is a perfect opportunity for me to stand up for my community. When I say community, I say that as a unit, a nation. I don't want to go over my time. Pardon me for like being spontaneous. I'm
You're
doing the
healer.
best that I can, but I just want to appreciate and thank each and every one of you persons for me having this opportunity to view this in Detroit. Okay, thank you.
Thank you for addressing the commission. Next in line is number 6.
Good morning, Commissioners. My name is Sarah Ismail, and I live in the city of Dearborn, and I'm here on behalf of Access. I'm here today to ask the Commission to keep my community of interest together. The Arab American community and more broadly, the Middle Eastern North African community is not only a community of interest found in Dearborn and Dearborn Heights, but can also be found in Hamtramck, Ann Arbor, Ferndale, Sterling Heights, pockets of Detroit, and most importantly, Melvindale. This community of interest has shared similarities in ancestry, heritage, culture, and language, but also a shared similarity in invisibility. This community of interest is labeled white and cannot quantify the inequities it faces in their everyday lives due to not having a MENA category in the US Census data, the same US Census data that is currently being used to redraw these district maps. I encourage the Commission to refer back to the Access Community of Interest map at C1510 because the decision that the Commission makes will not only affect us now, but for the next decade. Thank you for your service.
Thank you for addressing the commission. Next in line is number 7.
Hello, my name is Shams Al-Badri. I'm the Civic Engagement Manager at Access. First of all, I want to say thank you all for allowing us the opportunity to be here and to speak to you. I was here in 2021, not 2001. I was here in 2021 with you all. So again, thank you for allowing us to be here and creating this space for us to advocate for our communities. As my colleagues and friends have mentioned, the US Census counts people who hold Arab ancestry or other Middle Eastern and North African origins within the white category. So we do not have the census data to be able to back up the redrawing of the maps. But that being said, we know for a fact that our community of interest map that we have shared, the 1510, is a community of interest map that ensures that our community voices will be heard and represented. And we urge you all to take that into consideration. Our community of interest primarily lives in the communities that we have shared. Myself being a Dearborn Heights resident, I know that it's really important for our community voices to be heard and uplifted. And in addition to that, we've also heard a lot of conversation around removing Melvindale from the community of interest. As Access, as an organization and as individuals, we want to urge you to ensure that you're also taking into consideration the Arab American community that lives in Melvindale. Thank you.
Thank you for addressing the commission. Next in line is number 8.
Hi, everyone. Good morning. My name is Lama. I'm a community organizer at Access. I'm here on behalf of Access. And I just want to say the diverse Arab American and more broadly MENA population may trace their ancestry to different countries, speak different dialects and languages. And also, however, they have much more in common than any other ethnic or racial group. Using the best available data from the US Census American Community Survey, a report was created demonstrating a picture of a unique community as a result of disaggregating the Arab and MENA community from the white racial category. Findings indicate that 43% of the Arab and MENA community between the ages of 25 and 64 lives in poverty, with 8.4 are unemployed. Arab Americans and MENA individuals have distinct issues and experiences. On the national level, data on Arab Americans and MENA individuals obscure regional variation, such as disadvantaged communities in the Metro Detroit area. I just want to say that I support the Access Community of Interest map C1510, which will keep our communities intact and ensure equitable consideration of our community. Please take the time to redraw the house maps, as this will affect the next 10 years of representation of our community of interest. Thank you.
Thank you for addressing the commission. Next in line is number 9.
Hello, my name is Alamia Nus and I live in Dearborn. I'm here to advocate for the Access Community of Interest map C1510. The maps as they stand are not currently fair on several of the rank criteria, including criteria number 1, the Voting Rights Act. Not considering all the facts and data in your Voting Rights Act analysis is leading you down a path of disenfranchisement of communities of color. Despite your best intentions, Arab American and MENA communities are not counted in the census, and due to that have been left out of the redistricting process. The Access Community of Interest map C1510 ensures our communities stay together and are able to quantify their needs. Please take the time to redraw the house maps. Our community of interest primarily lives in Dearborn, Dearborn Heights, West Detroit, and Melvindale, as well as other parts of Michigan such as Hamtramck, Sterling Heights, Flint, Livonia, Canton, Ferndale, Ypsilanti, and Ann Arbor. Thank you.
Thank you for addressing the commission. Next in line, number 10.
Hello, my name is Haneen. I live in Livonia and I work at Access. I urge you to consider the Arab American and MENA communities as you continue your work on the house maps. According to the most recent census data, 45% of Middle Eastern and North African population of Michigan lives in Wayne County. 85% of the MENA population lives in Wayne, Oakland, and Macomb counties combined. At Access, we primarily service clients from these counties. Our community of interest primarily lives in Dearborn, Dearborn Heights, West Dearborn, and Melvindale, as well as other parts of Michigan, such as Hamtramck, Sterling Heights, Flint, Livonia, Canton, Ferndale, Ypsilanti, and Ann Arbor. Dividing our communities of interest further marginalizes the Arab American and MENA communities, impacting available resources and our ability to quantify needs and develop targeted service programs. I support the Access Communities of Interest map C1510, which would recognize the significance of the Arab American and MENA communities' presence in this area. Thank you.
Thank you for addressing the commission. Next in line is number 11.
Hello, my name is Mohammed Shama and I live in Dearborn. I'm here to advocate for the Access Community of Interest map C1510 to ensure that the Arab American and MENA communities are given equitable consideration in the drawing of the maps. Arab Americans and more broadly the MENA communities are undercounted in the US Census, making the process such more difficult for our community to demonstrate the size and the need of the community. We urge you to continue to work on the house maps. The Michigan State University Institute of Social Policy and Public Research recommended that the MICRC reevaluate its approach toward compliance. With the VRA in the light of this question, they need to assess whether their districts are like to enable preferred candidates to win racially polarized primary elections. The commission will determine the representation of the COI will have for the next 10 years and the generational impacts it will have for our future, take time to redraw the house maps. Thank you.
Thank you for addressing the commission. Next in line is number 12.
Good morning. My name is Hassan Jaber and I live in Dearborn. I'm the former president of Access and currently I'm the president of Arab Americans for Progress. The Metro Detroit region is home to the largest and most diverse Arab and Middle Eastern North African MENA communities outside the Arab MENA region. This community of interest shares a rich history and has made significant economic, cultural, and civic contributions to Michigan. We are asking that you keep this community together. The census grossly undercount Arab Americans due to the fact that they're only identified as white. Therefore, the community historically is denied representation and critical services. One step toward recognizing the significant presence of this community and the unique needs and challenges we face would be to keep our community together in the House District. I hope the commissioners will take our community into account by considering the Access Community of Interest map. Thank you.
Thank you for addressing the commission. That concludes our in-person public comment. And we move on to virtual. Individuals who have signed up and indicated they would like to provide live or remote public commentary to the commission will now be allowed. I will call your name and our staff will unmute you. If you are on a computer, you will be prompted by the Zoom app to unmute your microphone and speak. If you are on the phone, a voice will say the host wants you to speak and prompt you to press *6 to unmute. I will call you by your name or the last 4 digits of your phone number. Also, please note that if you experience technical or audio issues and we do not hear from you from 3 to 5 seconds, we will move on to the next person in line and then return to you after they are done speaking. If your audio still does not work, you can email redistricting@michigan.gov and we will help you troubleshoot so you can participate in the next public comment period at a later meeting. You will have 90 seconds to address the commission. Please conclude your remarks when you hear the timer. Sorry, I got out of line. First in line to provide public comment is James Gallant. Please allow a moment for our staff to unmute you.
Public comment participants 1, 2, and 3 are not currently present.
Okay, then we'll move on to 4. Next in line is Eden Zemak. Please allow our staff a moment to unmute you.
Hi, can you hear me?
Yes.
Okay, sorry about that. Hi, my name is Eden Zemak. I live in Detroit, and I'm here to support the Access Communities of Interest map, C1510, and which would keep the Arab American and Middle Eastern and North African communities together. This community of interest originates from culturally, geographically, and religiously diverse countries, but shares many experiences and challenges. Leaving this community of interest together ensures that we are able to quantify its needs. It would also mean that programs can be developed to meet the needs of these communities and funding can be acquired to do this. Because the MENA and Arab American communities are already not recognized by the federal government, they are undercounted and not able to accurately demonstrate the size and needs of this community. The Access Communities of Interest Map C1510 would recognize the significant presence of this community in the region and display the Commission's dedication to equity through the redistricting process. Thanks for your time.
Thank you for addressing the Commission. Next in line is Christina Beckley. Please allow our staff a moment to unmute you. You're muted.
Can you hear me now?
Yes.
Okay. So hello, my name is Christiana Beckley. I live in Detroit, Michigan. As a friend and ally of the Arab American community, I want to ensure that their voice is heard in this redistricting process. Arab Americans and more broadly, the MENA communities are undercounted in the US Census already, making the process much more difficult for the community to demonstrate the size and needs of their community. The community in Melvindale has commonalities and shared history with the cities of Dearborn and Dearborn Heights and is part of the same community of interest. Keeping this community of interest together in the house maps will help us to be able to acknowledge the population and its unique needs and challenges and develop programs to tackle them. So I ask that you please take your time to consider the Access Community of Interest map and the C1510 as you continue to work on the house maps. Thank you for your time.
Thank you for addressing the Commission. Next in line is Claire Forrester. Please allow our staff a moment to unmute you.
Hi, hello, can you hear me?
Yes.
Great, thank you. My name is Claire Forster. I was born in Ann Arbor and have lived here most of my life, besides time I have spent living abroad. I'm a graduate of the University of Michigan in Ann Arbor, where I established myself as a poet and teaching artist. I have a master's degree from the American University in Cairo, where I studied visual media trends before, during, and after the Arab Spring. It feels timely to note that yesterday, January 25th, was the 14th anniversary of the beginning of the revolution in Egypt that deposed military dictator Hosni Mubarak, a popular movement that was in part fighting for social justice and democracy there. Unlike Egyptians, we are privileged with a better established democratic process, but we are not perfect either. In 2020, I volunteered as a poll worker in Dearborn because I felt compelled to do my part to protect my neighbors that are more susceptible to harassment, intimidation, and suppression at the polls. But voting is the end of the line as far as doing our part to protect our community's political enfranchisement and empowerment at the polls. This process begins with this redistricting commission. So I'm here to advocate that the Arab American and MENA communities are kept together to ensure equitable consideration of their needs. Therefore, I urge the Commission to take into consideration the Access Community of Interest map C1510 in the redistricting of our state. Thank you for your time, Commissioners, TAC, and other support staff. Thank you for your work to make our democratic process increasingly fair and free. And may Palestine be free so that we may all be free.
Thank you for addressing the Commission. Next in line is Alma Mia Anos. Please allow our staff a moment to unmute you.
Participants numbers 7, 8, 9, 10, and 11 are not currently present.
Thank you. Starting with number 12. Next in line is Ryan Reese. Please allow our staff a moment to unmute you.
Can you hear me?
Yes.
Thank you.
Reverend Ryan Reese, House District 14. Once again, thank you very much for the tireless work at the commission and for the time to speak to you. Your hard work in the past has been appreciated, and we want to see the strong progress towards partisan fairness continue on all rubrics, that ground not be lost in the metro area as we protect the COI that are present throughout the metro area. Both the diversity of our communities and at the same time, the partisan fairness of our communities is something to be preserved. Be careful not to rely solely on the vote to seat ratio and be mindful of median, mean, and efficiency ratings. I want to see the residents of my communities in South Warren and Center Line receive the most fair and balanced voter representation possible. Comments regarding the COIs that cross over the 8-mile boundary are of special importance to me as a resident of the region and having walked many of these streets numerous times in the past. In particular, I would advise against the Trillium map, as House District 14 within it particularly does not reflect the African American population already present within the district by my own frequent walking of the area and knowing my neighbors and having worked with these people for a very long time. Does not reflect the 8-mile crossings, and I would suggest other maps over that one. Thank you very much for your time.
Thank you for addressing the commission. Next in line is Brown Prater. Please allow our staff a moment to unmute you.
Good morning. Can you hear me?
Yes.
Hello, my name is Bronwyn Prater and I work at Access in Dearborn. I'm here to advocate on behalf of the Arab American community. The United States Census counts people of Arab and Middle Eastern descent, Middle Eastern North African origins within the white race category. And through my years of work at Access, I've witnessed the ongoing impact of going undercounted and underrepresented that this has had on this community. Census Commission has only used the census as its data graphic data source. The Arab American and MENA communities have been left out of this redistricting process. Our community of interest primarily lives in Dearborn, Dearborn Heights, West Detroit, and Melvindale, as well as in other parts of Michigan, such as Hamtramck, Flint, Sterling Heights, Livonia, Canton, Ferndale, Ypsilanti, and Ann Arbor. Please consider the Access Community of Interest map C1510, which keeps the Arab American and MENA communities together. This community of interest has unique needs that cannot be met unless this entire community is kept whole. Thank you for your time.
Thank you for addressing the commission. Next in line is Grammy Hewson.
Commissioner
Please allow-
Kellum has her hand raised.
Commissioner Kellen, go ahead.
Thank you. For those present that are providing remote public comment as well as in-person public comment, I had a question regarding, of course, you all have showed up in numbers and I'm listening regarding this access map. I'm curious to know, and you might not know this right now, but what of the maps that we've created so far closely represent the areas that you all are describing and are passionate about? I think that would be good information because sometimes I'm not assuming that you all have not reviewed our current maps. But sometimes there's a lag between what was done from last week all the way up until yesterday and what folks are able to access via the internet or attending meetings, because our meetings are obviously pretty lengthy. So I'd appreciate that information from anyone who's willing to share.
Next in line is Grameen Hewson. Please allow our staff a moment to unmute you.
Hello, can everyone hear me?
Yes.
Good morning. My name is Graham Hewson, and I'm here today on behalf of Access. I'm requesting that the commission keep the community of interest that I work closely with, which are Arab Americans and people of Middle Eastern and North African descent, or MENA, together. The Arab American and MENA community are already a socially and politically marginalized group. There are federal programs that have been designed for marginalized groups. However, when the Arab American and MENA community is divided, it is harder for the community to avail the opportunities afforded by those programs. The Arab American and MENA communities have unique cultural and linguistic barriers to accessing these federal programs, and they need strong consideration to be able to close this gap in coverage. Please consider the Access Community of Interest Map, C1510, which provides equitable consideration to the community. Thank you for your time.
Thank you for addressing the commission. Next in line is Amal Mohammed. Please allow our staff a moment to unmute you.
Hello, can you hear me?
Yes.
Hello, everyone. My name is Amal Mohammed, and I work at Access located in Dearborn, Michigan. I advocate that Arab American, Middle Eastern, and North African MENA communities are kept together to ensure proper representation of the community interest for the next 10 years. Please consider the Access Community of Interest Map, C1510, which keeps our communities together and will ensure their needs will be met. There are federal programs that have been designed for marginalized groups. However, when Arab American and MENA communities are divided, the Commission makes it harder for the community to be available to the opportunities afforded by these programs. The Arab American and MENA communities have unique and cultural and linguistic barriers to accessing federal programs, and they need strong consideration to be able to close the gap in coverage. Our community of interest should be kept together in order for those unique needs to be met, which is accomplished in the Access COI map C1510. Thank you for your time.
Thank you for addressing the commission. Next in line is Selena McDermott. Please allow our staff a moment to unmute you.
That participant is not present.
Next in line is Claudia Aboud. Please allow our staff a moment to unmute you.
Hello, can you hear me?
Yes.
Hello, my name is Claudia Aboud and I live in Plymouth, Michigan. Metro Detroit is home to the largest and most diverse Arab, Middle Eastern, and North African identity. My community of interest originates from culturally, geographically, and religiously diverse countries, embodying many experiences and narratives that cannot be distilled to a singular experience or partisan lines. We are not counted in the census as our own racial or ethnic category, which is the only source of demographic data you are using in the redistricting process. Our community of interest primarily lives in Dearborn, Dearborn Heights, West Detroit, and Melvindale, as well as other parts of Michigan such as Hamtramck, Sterling Heights, Flint, Livonia, Canton, Ferndale, Ypsilanti, and Ann Arbor. Splitting my community of interest into multiple districts makes it even more difficult to have our community recognized. I urge you to keep my community of interest together, like an Access map C1510. Thank you for your time.
Thank you for addressing the commission. Next in line is Adam Vidali. Please allow our staff a moment to unmute you.
That participant is not present.
Thank you. Next in line is Trenton Wormley. Please allow our staff a moment to unmute you.
Hi, can you all hear me properly?
Yes.
All right, perfect. Good morning. My name is Trenton Wormley. First, I'd like to thank you all for allowing residents and constituents to voice their concerns and feedback pertaining to the ongoing redistricting situation. It is imperative that Michigan has fair and impartial districting maps that properly represents every Michigander, which I'm fairly confident that the vast majority of us here can unanimously agree with. In addition to that, in addition to having fair districting maps, we need to ensure that each district is designed to enhance partisan fairness in order to obtain inclusion and having a balanced constituency in these districts. With a balanced district system, we can ensure that everyone's voice is heard at the ballot box without any sort of issues unfolding that relates to relationships or even single groups of individuals. That is all I have. Thank you again for allowing me to share my.
Thank you for addressing the commission. Next in line is Hussein Alamimi. Please allow our staff a moment to unmute you.
Participants number 20 and 21 are not present.
Thank you. Next in line is Alex McGuire. Please allow our staff a moment to unmute you.
Hi, can you hear me?
Yes.
My name is Alex McGuire, connecting from Sterling Heights. Thank you, members of the commission, for holding these public meetings and allowing us all to speak. Transparency is incredibly important to the democratic process, and I'm very glad that you're doing your part. This commission has shown a commitment to partisan fairness with the maps it previously drew, but I worry that you're putting too much importance on the seat to votes ratio metric. That works quite well in close elections, but in any election that could be construed as a landslide, such as is such a statistical outlier that the seat to votes ratio breaks down. Moreover, the majority of the metrics that you are using, 3 out of the 4, show all of your maps as favoring Republicans. Using multiple criterion in deciding your maps would help to protect the partisan fairness that is so important in these difficult times. Again, thanks to the commission for allowing me to speak, and have a great day.
Thank you for addressing the commission. Next in line is Sarah Howard. Please allow our staff a moment to unmute you. You're muted.
Are you able to hear me now?
Yes.
Great, thank you. Good morning, commissioners. The most important thing a fair map must do is ensure that the party that wins the most votes wins the most seats. There has been talk that there are 60 Democratic seats right now, but the math behind it assumes that the Democrats will win the state house by 3% every single time. In reality, that has happened exactly once in the last decade. You are looking at a bunch of marginal seats that would likely vote Republican in a 50-50 statewide election and counting them as Democratic seats. That's why the other 3 metrics beyond seats votes show a Republican bias in the maps. For example, the mean median tests all of the maps right now and show that the Republican Party could lose statewide vote by over 2% and still win a majority, meaning the Democratic Party can get 51% of the vote and lose, while Republicans can get 49% and win. That is not a fair map. You're heading in the right direction, but there's still work left to do. Please keep going, and thank you again for all of your efforts. I'm Sarah Howard.
Thank you for addressing the commission. Next in line is Michael Davis. Please allow our staff a moment to unmute you.
I go.
You're
Yeah, we
welcome
can
to
hear you.
address the commission, Michael.
Sorry. Good morning, commissioners. I'm Michael Davis, the Executive Director of Promote the Vote, a diverse coalition of Michigan-based organizations, rich history in protecting marginalized communities across our state and advancing advocacy and pro-voter education. Our 2024 Unity Map was submitted as Portal ID P9299 with metrics and narratives as submitted via email. On behalf of our partners and the communities that they serve and engage, we're thankful that the Commission looked to our Unity map yesterday as a resource to create 2 altered versions now named Peony and Peony 2. As you have now seen, our Unity map is sound, fair, and equitable, as our map submitted only changed 12 districts and improved upon the core issues outlined in the lawsuit. Our map featured 11 majority minority districts with the Black voting age population at 50% plus, ranging from 51.6 to 60.1%. Our map protects unities of interest, preserves partisan fairness without diluting the voices of minority communities in Detroit. Given your timeline and upcoming deadlines, all we ask is that our original map submission be included for evaluation, along with the commission adaptations that you may choose to put forward. At the end of the day, Michiganders want to be able to choose from the best pool of map options after an evaluation process that provides us with the best performing maps offering electoral outcomes most representative of our state and communities. Michiganders still support this commission process and want to see you succeed, no matter heckling or random headlines, because the ICRC is charged with the duty of ultimately adopting the best final map.
Thank you for addressing the commission. Next in line is Dustin Witches. Would you please give our staff a moment to unmute you?
That participant is not present.
Thank you. Next in line is Chris Gilmer Hill. Would you please allow our staff a moment to unmute you?
Good morning. Can I be heard?
Good morning.
All right, so I'll be quick. I'd firstly like to really thank the commission for all the work that you've done, taking into account communities of interest. I know this has been a very long, fraught process. I know a lot of Detroiters have said a lot of things to you, but I think once people really look at the range of options that you all have prepared, I think people will be happy with the choices we have in terms of how communities of interest are represented. I'd like to urge you in this last phase, as we're sort of looking at some final tweaks to these options, to consider primary election data from 2022 to help make your decision. I think that's a really good proxy for COIs that vote together. So along those lines, I know you've heard a lot about the Dearborn MENA community of interest, which is really important to keep together. I'd suggest that there's a really good version of that configuration in the Spirit of Detroit map, the Marigold, Sunflower, and Water Lily. But I'm not a huge fan of how it's handled in the Promote the Vote, Peony 2, Trillium, and Tulip maps. Even though those combine Melvindale with part of Dearborn and keep that together, they split off the largest chunk of that MENA Middle Eastern community in East Dearborn up into a district that stretches way into Detroit, where they don't really have a say in who wins that election. And if you look at the last year's data, the candidate that won East Dearborn did not win the whole district because of totally disparate parts of Detroit that were included. So I'd urge you to take that into consideration. Thank you.
Thank you for addressing the commission. Next in line is Anthony Scannell. Please allow our staff a moment to unmute you.
We actually have a participant who was absent earlier who is now joined. Their name is Hussein Altamimi. If you can give me just one moment. Actually, it appears they might have just logged off, so maybe they're having technical issues. So Anthony, give me just one moment.
All right, guys. Yeah, you almost said disconnect, not connect me. That'd be horrible. But no, thank you for letting me speak. I love the Lions attire. Go Lions, loving it. Yeah, I can't believe this this Melvindale thing really came up. I wasn't really even thinking about it that seriously. And like I said, there's arguments for it to go both ways. And actually, shame on me for showing up late to yesterday's hearing. I didn't even notice the gentleman, the attorney, Bill Clovis. That was my attorney at one time. Not even kidding. And you know, he advocated for Melvindale to be with Allen Park and Lincoln Park, and so you know that's great. He's a great attorney. I'd recommend him. But there's more than one way to skin a cat. You know, there's more than one right way to do it. So be it. I kind of like Marigold, Sunflower, Lily, and actually I was agreeing right with Chris right there. I don't like Trillium. I don't like Peony, and I don't like Tulip. Absolutely not Tulip. Actually, I just submitted one this morning. I really didn't even try that hard on it, but hey, you should take a look if you got the time. Time's of the essence. P9944. Why not? It's a really interesting community of interest between Hamtramck and Warren that I think you guys have been trying to get. But again, I like Marigold, Sunflower, Lily.
Thank you for addressing the commission. Next is Rima Mirowicz. Please allow our staff a moment to unmute you.
We've had a participant who was our first participant has now joined the meeting, who was absent earlier, so I'll promote them first. So next to speak is James Gallant.
Hello, can you hear me now?
Yes.
All righty, thank you very much. It's James Gallant, Marquette County Suicide Prevention Coalition. These are my opinions. Well, I just wanted to explain a little bit that, like Mr. Scannell just said, I believe it was testified that there are 10,000 maps could be right. 10,000 right maps. It just said you couldn't really pick 13 of them out of 10,000 or more. It could be 100,000. So please do better this time. I'm not really interested in the maps thing. I'm interested in the process, the procedure, and the Constitution, your oath of office to follow our Constitution, and the rules of procedure, which includes Robert's Rules of Order. So that's my piece of this puzzle. And I think that that's the best thing that I can do to help alleviate the suicidal behavior in Michigan, is to try to help eliminate the hopelessness about all this. And I would like to point out that to the commission as a whole, that the document to vacate Eid from Satella, in there's a text message from Eid at 9:46 a.m. and she said in there, suggested this was from outside a meeting, but no, on
Mr.
22nd.
Gallant, you're asked not to single out commissioners by name, please.
Yeah, but wait a minute. I'm talking about her document. This is Satella's document. She's got this document, but in there is a text message from between the two commissioners during the.
Your time, allotted time is up. Thank you for addressing the commission. So are we going back to in person? Do we have anyone here?
Please. Yes. Oh, we did. She might have went down the hall. She'll be back. She'll be back. No,
Okay.
she'll be back. Her coach.
Okay, and then we had Ryan Reese request to speak twice on virtual.
We actually have 6 participants who have requested to speak twice virtually. And our first participant requesting that is Mr. James Gallant. Would you like me to go ahead and proceed to second round virtual, or did you want to wait for the public comment, the in-person?
Miss Reinhardt, she's walked back in. So if you don't mind, we'll do the in-person public comment first, and then we can go to remote.
That sounds great.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
Good morning, commissioners and my fellow Detroiters. I first want to say thank you to the commission for continuing the fight. Second, I want to give some kudos to Commissioners Lang and Kellum for their leadership in having the town hall event on yesterday. Thank you, Mr. Woods, for facilitating and keeping things going along, because we got to meet people where they are. We understand that we have a digital divide here in this nation, and Detroit is no different. We have to go where the people are to find out what their true concerns are. That's the whole point of this map making. and seeing the number of people who have not had an opportunity to speak. I believe it was over 200 people on the online forum on yesterday. We need to continue to do that to reach out to the community, number one. The word that I want to express today is elucidate. Elucidate, it means to create understanding, create clarification. I think so many people today do not understand the redistricting process. So how can you speak to something that you really have no knowledge of? And so we need to make sure that we're creating opportunities where we make people understand in layman's terms what it is that is trying to be accomplished. So let's make sure that we do our part in focusing on that VRA on Saturday and this weekend, and doing the best for our citizens here in the city of Detroit and the state of Michigan. Thank you for listening.
Thank you for addressing the commission.
Our first second round public comment participant is Mr. James Gallant. Please give us a moment to unmute you.
Thank you.
Can you hear me now?
Yes.
All righty, James Gallen again. Thank you for letting me finish my comment here. So as I was saying, actually, point of order, Madam Chair, I believe that it was that you can talk about the member as long as it's the members' manner in which they're performing their duties and not personal jabs at them personally as a human being. And that's what I'm talking about. I'm talking about the manner in which you folks are performing your duties. And the document to vacate Eid from Commissioner Zatella, who is an attorney. And the example for the text message is on page 3. And it says, oh, this is an example of how he was, advocating for maps outside the meeting, outside of public meetings. No, that was during the meeting. And as a matter of fact, Commissioner Zatella was in the meeting and Commissioner Eid was on his way and said, oh, hold that thought until I get there, which he got there at 11 o'clock. That's absolutely. And now under the Attorney General's Open Meetings Act manual, which I don't think you folks got that, or did you? Because it says in there, you cannot have electronic communications during a meeting because that's already considered a closed session meeting. You have a closed session meeting that nobody knows what you're talking about behind the scenes. And some of you people may not understand what I'm talking about, but we're talking about the specter that is communism. That's that closed session meeting of these separate rules that you people have agreed to that are not in the Robert's rules. And please go back, everybody go back to September. Y'all remember when Mike Brady said.
Thank you for addressing the commission.
Our second public comment participant for the second round is Anthony Scannell. Please allow us a moment to unmute you.
Thank you.
Thank you. I remember back a couple meetings ago, there was a discussion about whether or not the COI overlay was, well, whether or not there was consensus about were those really the COIs. Did everyone agree about that? And I kind of thought that was an interesting point because I noticed, for example, the Southwest Detroit, I guess would be Latino community of interest extended. It included like River Rouge and Ecorse, but it didn't include Lincoln Park. But obviously, in my opinion, experience, I'd say Lincoln Park would be more included in that kind of COI than the other two, Ecorse and River Rouge, Lincoln Park. But and that's not to say, the Native American COI is, on top of it or two. There's more than, so the lines have to fall somewhere. That's, communities, they're right next to each other. They have overlapping COIs, so not everyone can get what they want. That's all right. Yeah, Melvindale, I'm thinking about that. I guess it's a big topic, but I was driving through there. Every day I drive through there. I got a big speeding ticket. It's crazy. And Allen Park, yeah, home of the Detroit Lions. Work there every day, so that's fun. I appreciate the one commissioner who asked about third-party voter data, whether or not that was included of Dr. Hanley. And no, it's not included in the partisan analysis, but I appreciate the thought. Yeah.
Thank you for addressing the commission. Oh, we have another?
Yeah, we have 3 more, actually 4 more, sorry. Our next public comment participant for the second round is Alex McGuire. Alex, give us a moment to unmute you.
Hello, can you hear me?
Yes.
My name is Alex McGuire, connecting remotely from Sterling Heights. I'd like to thank the commission for the opportunity to speak again on behalf of my community. I'm concerned that there hasn't been enough consideration of the partisan fairness data that the commission has available in drafting the new lines. I'd especially prefer that the commission only redraw those districts that the court overturned. Our state's constitution places partisan fairness above municipal boundaries and compactness, and I greatly agree. And I truly believe that we can follow the court's rulings and have partisan fairness. I don't see the two as mutually exclusive. Again, thank you so much for your hard work and for listening to me. Have a good day.
Thank you
Our
for
next
addressing.
Our next remote public comment participant for the second round is Ryan Reese. Ryan, give us a moment.
Can you hear me now?
Yes.
Once again, Reverend Ryan Reese from House District 14. Thank you for the additional time to speak to the commission. And thank you for your eternal patience in dealing with our many comments. I want to stress very strongly under the circumstances that we need to keep focusing on the various other rubrics besides the vote to seat ratio. In particular, I would like the commission to make an effort while trying to improve COI representation to look to options that would increase the efficiency for all parties so that the efforts are made to make sure that fairness is properly attended to by for both the Republicans and the Democrats. As much as I understand the desire of third-party candidates for some additional consideration in this, it is difficult to maintain these statistics, and I approve of the current way in which Dr. Hanley explained the rubrics are followed. Please do consider the other rubrics, in particular efficiency and median mean. Thank you for your time.
Thank you for addressing the commission.
Our next remote public comment participant for the second round is Sarah Howard. Sarah, allow us a moment to unmute you.
Good morning. This is Sarah Howard. When you first started 3 years ago, Dr. Hambley's original analysis did not include seats votes count as one of the measures for partisan fairness. Seats votes notably skews Republican and is the least accurate in measuring fairness. As you redraw, the other 3 measures, especially mean median, should be your focus as you judge the fairness of a map. It does not work to fix what the court told you to while neglecting the other constitutional factors that you must also meet. That would not serve Detroiters, and it would not serve Michigan. You are doing well on observing the communities to keep together in the affected districts and to amend those lines. Please keep listening to Detroiters. Remember that you are permitted to make changes that you need to in neighboring districts if it makes the most sense to rise to the court's directive. Thank you again for sticking it out with one another and this process. Again, I'm Sarah Howard here on behalf of the Fair Maps Project. Thank you again.
Thank you for addressing the commission.
Our sixth and final remote public comment participant for the second round is Chris Gilmer Hill. Allow us a moment to unmute you.
Good morning. Can I be heard?
Yes.
Yes, you can.
All right, thanks. So the last thing I wanted to raise before the commission is, again, that I'd like to really stress partisan fairness should be as perfect as you can get it on these maps. I'd urge you to use common sense alongside the numerical metrics that you have when you're evaluating partisan fairness, because as people have said, like, these metrics are very good and useful. They're very helpful to let you be objective, but they don't always give you a clear, full story. And they're most useful when you really understand what they're saying and think about them in full context. So as people have mentioned, the seat vote ratio in particular can be skewed when you have a large number of statewide candidates that win by a large margin. There's a number of seats, especially places like downriver, that tend to vote for Democrats when they win the state by, say, 10 points, but that otherwise are very likely to vote Republican. So as a result, there's some tweaks that you can do in this next phase of minor changes over the next week that will probably improve fairness across the board, such as putting Olive Taylor into one district. I'd urge you to look at things like that because you've turned 2 Democratic districts into highly competitive districts in South Macomb and the Grosse Pointes. And so just common sense says that there's no way to compensate for that without also tweaking Republican districts in places like Taylor. I know everybody's hearts are in the right place. I trust that the commission is really being fair about this. And again, I'd really like to thank you for all of the hard work you've done this entire process. Thank you.
Thank you for addressing the commission.
That concludes our second round of public comment.
Madam Chair, in an effort to make our roll call complete for today, we've had 3 commissioners join. I'd like to call on Commissioner Callahan. When I call your name, actually, please say present and share where you're remotely attending from. Commissioner Callahan.
Present, attending remotely from Farmington Hills, Michigan.
Commissioner Curry.
Present and attending remotely from Detroit, Michigan.
Commissioner Wagner.
Present, attending remotely from Charlotte, Michigan.
Thank you. We now have a full quorum of 13 commissioners present, Madam Chair.
Thank you very much. So now, without objection, I will ask Executive Director Woods to provide his report. Hearing no objection, please proceed, Mr. Woods.
Thank you, Madam Chairperson and members of the commission. Just want to give kudos and hats off to Commissioner Rhonda Lang and Commissioner Brittany Cullum, and for all those who worked behind the scenes in getting the word out for our virtual meeting. I think it's an excellent idea. And I think the biggest lessons learned from that is that maybe we adjust our commission meeting in terms of our agenda and replicate that as one of our meetings to get input. I think people really like the idea of having the interactive dialogue, and I just think it would be probably even more beneficial if we had the whole entire commission with regards to doing that. So I just want to give kudos. We had some challenges, but we were able to work through them. And I think it's just a stellar idea. And I just want to commend Commissioner Lang for her initiative, as well as Commissioner Kellum for their help. And if there's anything either one of those distinguished ladies would like to share at this time, I would like to, give them the opportunity to do so.
Commissioner Lang.
The only thing I want to share is it takes a team to make it work. I appreciate everybody that helped, like Edward said, behind the scenes, but I also want to thank the organizations that helped get the word out. I know it was kind of last minute, so there was a lot of community members that helped pass the link out. There were a lot of community organizations that helped, a lot of churches that helped. So our success was based off from the public. So I think a round of applause from the commission is deserved to the public of Detroit, because without them, we wouldn't have got the turnout that we did. So I'll give them a clap.
Madam Chairperson, on Wednesday, I repeat, on Wednesday, I need to know if the commission would be willing. I know we have a meeting that day. I know we meet from 9 to 6. If we can adjust our lunch from 1 to 2 to 12 to 1. So if we can meet 9 to 12, then have lunch from 12 to 1, and then continue meeting from 1 to 6. So if you're able to adjust it, I would greatly appreciate it.
Is there any objection to that adjustment for this coming Wednesday? I don't see any objection. I don't see any problem with it.
So is
Do we
that,
need to vote that, or just
if you declare consensus, that will be great.
I declare consensus?
All right, so the meeting time's the same. It's just an adjustment with the lunch. All right, thank you so much. Next week, we have, as you know, our court deadline is on Friday to submit the maps. and we're looking to do deliberations sometime next week. So today we're having a presentation, as you know, from Sarah Reinhardt regarding the mapping process to see procedure. That's more of like a discussion in terms of how we do it. And then we have our voting rights analysis that will take place on Monday afternoon after lunch at 1 o'clock. I know, Mr. Brace, that you were working on getting the maps. Can you kind of share where we are today?
Certainly, Executive Director Woods. We have uploaded to the experts last night 7 plans, and we are proceeding to upload the remaining 7 this morning. We've already sent, I think, 3 or 4 of them. Ryan's been sending them from the back desk back there. And we've been communicating all last night and this morning with the one expert to make sure that his files are readable. He's okay. He's got things that he needs and things are proceeding forward. So we're doing well on that side and should have everything to him by noon, as we said. We also have created a series of graphics for the commission to consider that shows each of these plans with the with the Hickory plan as an overlay. And at whatever point in time you start looking at reviewing the plans, I'll be happy to share those images with everybody.
Is that will be like an overlay that you could share next week? That's not something that's on the website, correct?
And we are actually putting those up on the website also. So they will be there so that people can see them then. I just wanted to let people, the commissioners, see them first on
Great.
that side.
All right, for the public that may not know how you can view the plans, because all the 14 plans, if I'm not mistaken, Mr. Brace, are on the My Districting.
Yes, that's correct.
All right, so for the public who wants to view the plans that are being considered by the commission, you can go to the commission's homepage. I repeat, the commission's homepage, and you can click view draft maps from the homepage. And then after you go to view draft maps, you can click on the State House, and then you can see the maps that are being considered by the commission. If you click on the attachment, you will notice it's a picture file, a TIFF file. For those of you that know how to work with shape files, if you click on the district shapes, you can download the shape files. And for those that want to provide public comment as it relates to those maps, you can click on the comment link with regards to that. Once again, the 14 files that have been forwarded to the VRA, the Voting Rights Attorney, for analysis are also available on the commission's website for the public to do analysis as well. We want to thank Mr. Brace and his team for EDS for their diligence in getting this up so the public can have comment and see people can see what the commission is doing in an open and transparent way. I think, Madam Chairperson, after we deal with the mapping process and procedures, and if I don't know if I think there's might be a little bit time for mapping. I think after that, we can also conclude our meeting. All right, if there's any questions, I can take them at this time before turning it over to Ms. Sarah Reinhardt.
Any questions for Director Woods? Thank you, Director Woods. Before we turn it over to Sarah Reinhardt, we did have one more public comment, live comment in person. I mean, we're all live, but in person. So we will allow her to speak and then we will move to Sarah Reinhardt.
And thank you to this honorable body for the work that you've been doing. I know that's been very contentious. A lot of time has been spent and energy put into this work, especially for those of you who are not familiar with the city of Detroit. I really do appreciate the hard work that you put into this, and especially the meeting last night. I think that a lot of citizens were very grateful that they had an opportunity to weigh in, as many of them were not aware that the meetings were taking place. And so thank you for that. I just have to reiterate that in drawing the maps and the maps that you're selecting, to make sure that they are compact, that they are not continue to spoke out into Oakland County, to make sure that in this process, one of the gentlemen spoke last night, or citizen spoke last night, about making sure that the citizen's voice is not washed out by special interest groups that are weighing in and have the capacity and the financing to submit their own maps. And so as you continue to endeavor to make sure that we are VRA compliant, that you are making sure that the districts that are selected allows for candidates to be able to run successfully in their communities, take into consideration, again, I served 6 years in the House, and I did represent Brightmoor. So I'm very sensitive to some of the issues that exist in that community and how grossly impacted they are by being connected to more affluent communities. So please be mindful. Please pull us back south of Oakland County and Macomb County. We realize everything won't be perfect, but your intentionality around making sure that there's Black representation is greatly appreciated. And thank you all for your service.
Thank you for addressing the commission. We can now go to Sarah Reinhardt's presentation.
Sarah Reinhardt will be back in just a moment. So if we can do something in
Okay.
place of that.
Oh,
It looks like
I'm here.
Mr. Brace.
Okay, thank you.
Looks like Mr. Brace has a hand up. Real
Yes.
quick.
We just, in going through the maps, we've seen one discrepancy that we wanted to bring to your attention and get a little bit of feedback in terms of which plan you're talking about. So John has those on his screen and he can share his screen with that.
Okay, so the issue here is the what we're calling the Bergamot maps. So Ms. Reinhardt provided us with a list of maps that she was tracking. So what she labeled as Bergamot version 1 and Bergamot version 2. We have one of them with the date of 1/18/4, and then the predecessor for that was 1/17/24 version 1, which we named Bergamot, right? So that's the original one. Then the one I believe that was updated, it just didn't have the name Bergamot on it. So I just wanted to confirm that that's what it is. So I put these two maps side by side, and if I could ask for Commissioner E to just kind of look at that with me and verify that this is what we think it is, I think that'll quickly resolve it.
And I know that Sarah Reinhardt had kept very close track of that. So I know she knows which one of those it is as well.
Okay, so Commissioner Reed, again, the map file that's open is from the 18th. And so this potentially would be Bergamot 2. So the map that is here, and then again, I'm showing what the overlay is, so dismiss that. So the overlay is the map from the 17th. And so you can see that all the districts are the same in this area. All the districts are the same there. The differences are in this area. So again, does this updated version, which is in Autobound, does that basically reflect what you wish to do in changing the original Bergamot from the 17th to the 18th?
Yeah, this is exactly the right one. So this is Bergamot, the only difference being the difference in Grosse Pointe being with Harper Woods or Grosse Pointe being with St. Clair Shores, and the configurations that have to happen to make that happen.
Okay, so I will designate this as Bergamot 2. So that will resolve that. And then also just one last point, up here, there's the FC, which was from Commissioner Led, which is the final check, if you will. So that's just indicates that I did run the air checks and make any minor technical changes as requested by the commission. And
Great.
that's it. So that resolves that. Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, now we're ready for Sarah Reinhardt.
Hi, commissioners. So I'm going to share my screen really quick. So the purpose of today's presentation is I'm going to give you an overview of the updated proposed deliberations process. So I think Edward mentioned earlier, the commission will not be voting on this today, so there's no final decision expected. It's more so just to give you all an overview of the process and a heads up about the actual document containing the process that you'll be receiving either later today or sometime over the weekend for your review prior to making decisions on it, hopefully Monday. So the first thing that I wanted to show you was the original mapping process from 2021. Just as a memory refresher, this is the draft deliberations process that has been renewed, or that I'll show you the renewed version of here in just a moment. This is the old version. So what we're talking about here is the process by which the commission will review each of your maps that are marked current, or that will be marked as complete by the end of next week for you to advance to the public comment period. So how many maps and which maps do you want the comment to view during the public comment period and provide comments on? So this was the old process. So if you're interested in reviewing that, it is posted online. It's in the mapping process and procedures document. So now I'll show you the updated version and we'll go through it very quickly. Okay, so this is the updated version for 2024. The process is a bit more simplified than what was in the 2021 version. So as I mentioned, this document provides an overview of the deliberations process during which you all will discuss and evaluate your draft maps to determine which maps will advance to the official public comment period. And that public comment period will end no later than February 23rd. And I think I mentioned this already, but I just want to reiterate, this is a document that's currently being reviewed by your legal team, so might be subject to different adjustments. But again, we're not making any final decisions on this today, just want to present. And if anyone has any thoughts, feelings, edits, recommendations, we can go through those today as well. So, when will the deliberations occur? It really depends on when you all are done with the mapping process. So the earliest it could begin is Wednesday, the 31st. But certainly by Thursday, February 1st, which is the day before the maps are due, we would conduct the deliberations process. The next section here, you'll notice, is in red font, and it is regarding individual maps. So that's because I've posed the question to your legal team about what they would recommend the process be for individual maps. I'm waiting to hear from them with further direction before inputting additional information on individual maps, but you'll see in a section later on, I did detail what we did in 2021 with individual maps that could potentially be the process for this round of deliberations as well. But were individual maps to be submitted, it would be best if they would be received by Wednesday, the 31st, so that they're able to be posted online prior to the final day of deliberations on February 1st. Any questions on that before I move on?
I don't see any.
Great, thank you. Okay, so prior to the deliberation session next Wednesday and or Thursday, this is just a recommendation, but it is recommended that commissioners take the time to independently review, research, and familiarize yourself with the collaborative maps that are posted online. I know you all have been working with them very diligently this past week or so. So I'm sure you're very familiar with them already, but it's encouraged to just take a look at them, make some notes, and find your own preferences prior to coming to the meeting. That applies to individual map submissions as well, so you can familiarize yourself with those. And then here we go to the actual kind of deliberation and voting process for advancing maps. So the first step will be to review each of the maps one by one, which I know you all have sort of been doing a little bit along the way, going back to review the maps that you view as complete. But this will be kind of like the final review before going to the public comment period. So each of the maps will be reviewed, and the chairperson and vice chairperson will facilitate the discussion and will present the collaborative maps in alphabetical order by identifier name. So, for example, the Aster flower, if you decide to advance that, that one might go first because it starts with an A. The commission should discuss each map as they're presented, noting differences between the districts as drawn, noting differences between COIs, any pros or cons of the map, and any further distinguishing factors. And it's strongly encouraged that during this time, commissioners take notes on your map preferences because you will be voting which ones to advance. But one thing that's very important to note is that any notes that you take are official commissioner business, and they're considered public records and are subject to FOIA. So just keep that in mind as you're taking notes. So after each of the maps has been presented, you will proceed with voting. So what will this look like? It will look like each of the maps will be pulled up and the commission will vote whether or not to advance it. And a majority vote of the commissioners present is required to advance the map to the public comment period. So once it is approved to advance, the draft map will officially become known as a draft proposed map. And remember, this goes back to that kind of list of definitions that's on the previous mapping procedures page. So we know what stage in the process the different maps are at. So it'll become a draft proposed map at that time. Any questions on that process before I move on?
I don't see any.
Great. And this is the final section, again in red font, because this is something I've asked your legal team to review. But I wanted to know what the process was last time for individual map submissions, so you have an expectation of what this might look like. So in 2021, each commissioner could put forth one map per district type. So we're working on House districts now. So each commissioner could put forth one individual map for the House districts, theoretically, to advance to the public comment period. And in 2021, individual maps were not voted on by the full commission to go to the public comment period, but were automatically advanced. So after the collaborative maps were presented during the deliberation process, any commissioner who had an individual map could present their map at that time. So that would be after the collaborative map presentation and the collaborative map vote. Then individual maps created by commissioners could be presented. And each individual map submitted was also required to have their data matrix, partisan fairness and VRA analysis, and compactness scores available for posting online to ensure compliance with the constitutional criteria. That was a requirement when submitting your individual map in 2021. So that's what I've listed here. And that concludes my overview of the deliberations process. Are there any questions?
Commissioner Wagner.
Yes, thank you, Chair. Ms. Reinhardt, I have a question. During the first round, we were advised that we absolutely had to vote on one of these to advance. Do we still absolutely have to vote on one, even if we do not agree with it? Thank you.
So you're wondering if you have to vote like at all, or like if you have to vote yes or yes if you don't like the map?
Correct. Do we have to vote if we don't want to vote because we don't like any of them? That's my question. Because last time we were told we could we didn't have to, but then it changed and we had to vote on a map. So that was my question.
Sure. What you may be thinking about is the final voting process to adopt a map, potentially. For this, if there are maps that you do not like and you don't want to advance, then a no vote would would probably be what would best represent your interest. So the no vote meaning to not advance it to the public comment period. So just to clarify, this deliberation process is only to advance maps to the public comment period. These will be the maps that members of the public will be presented and can share their thoughts about with you during your public hearing next month. This is not the deliberation process for actually voting to adopt a map. This is really kind of like the first step, entering into the public comment period to start narrowing down your final maps. Does that make sense?
It does. Thank you.
Sure.
Are there any other questions? I have a question. Let me see how to phrase it. So you said after, let's see, after we talk about all the collaborative maps, and they will have already gone through the VRA process review. And we vote on which ones to send to the public to view. Then each commissioner has the authority to submit one if they want to the straight to the public, is what you said, right?
So that is what the process was in 2021. That's one of the topics that I'm seeking clarification from your legal team about, because just acknowledging that this process is a little different, I want to make sure that that's still permissible. And I also see that your legal counsel has their hand raised, so.
Okay, well, I have a further question about that. So before Mr. Fink, so if that is the case, if we are allowed to send one through, at what point does that go through the VRA review? That's kind of my question.
Yeah,
Well, and I
great
think,
question.
Ms. Reinhardt, is that we asked for the maps today so that they could go through the VRA review. And the commission has not changed on that. And so I know we got a couple of things moving with the draft, but let's be very clear. We have an agreement that any individual map is due today. I think we said 1 o'clock, so that we can get that. And so I know we have a proposal up there, but just for the commission's clarity, that has not changed.
Okay.
So whoever has an individual map, I know people are working on them. They're still due today at 1 o'clock. And then we can amend the proposal based on what the commission has already decided.
I see. Okay, that clears things up. Thank you. Mr. Fink.
I was really pretty much just going to say what Director Woods just said. But I wanted to thank Sarah very much for putting this together, and we will, provide any feedback on this before we present it to the commission with a recommendation on adoption. And depending on what gets submitted, I guess by 1 o'clock today, at this point, I'm not aware of any actual individual maps, but if there are, then obviously we'll factor that in for the deliberations process. But thank you again to Sarah for putting this together, and that's all I had. Thanks.
Okay, anyone else? Any questions for Sarah or Edward?
I do have another question, please.
Go ahead.
For those of us that attended the town hall and with the individual commission map being required today at 1, if we had heard anything that would change that, I don't see how we can incorporate the changes we heard last night into individual submissions being required by 1 o'clock.
Well, if anyone has that issue, maybe we can discuss it right now. We also do have a little time for mapping, I believe, if somebody wants to make some changes. Anyone? Commissioner Zatella.
Yeah, so what, what exactly is proposed being changed?
So what we were talking about is the personal maps, the individual maps are required at 1 PM today.
Yeah.
And we're hoping to end the meeting early as we've completed all of our business, unless there's any more mapping, that any more changes that anybody wants to make after hearing what was heard at the town hall last night, or for any other reason. So are there any changes that you'd like to make on any maps?
On collaborative maps?
Any maps? Commissioner Wagner was concerned that if there were things that were heard last night at the town hall that would make somebody want to make changes. I think she was talking about specifically on any individual maps, that there wouldn't be time before 1 PM. But we have a little time now that we can make changes on any maps if anyone would like.
Okay, in terms of the collaborative maps, I feel like those were all at VRA analysis point at this point. So not interested in making changes there until that VRA analysis comes back. In terms of the individual maps, I mean, that wouldn't be something I would be changing now because the map's not due till 1.
Right. So we were saying if it's a problem for anyone that they wouldn't be able to make their changes before 1 PM, we can have a discussion about that. That's what the discussion was about. Are you fine with yours?
I'm fine with not making changes to my individual map in the meeting.
Is anybody else, Commissioner Eid?
Are you fine with 1 PM still, Commissioner Zatello?
I mean, it'd be nice to have a little more time because the town hall went pretty late last night. So it'd be nice to have like until 3 o'clock. That would be easier.
Mr. Brace, is that an issue?
Well, we stand ready to serve what you would like to do on that side. We each of us have flights at 9 PM tonight. So we're around here.
Director Woods, do you know? So we voted that individual maps were due at 1 PM today. If
That's correct, because we wanted to give time for those who were submitting individual maps to consider, anything that they've heard last night. So that's why when there was an agreement with regards to that, but the commission also voted to forward yesterday the collaborative maps. And those were forwarded, as requested. So if there's some changes or things that want to be made, they were really going to be made to those who were submitting individual maps.
Right.
Having said that, after you get the VRA analysis and you see something and the commission wants to make some tweaks, that is still possible, next week. But for right now, the 14 maps were already voted to go for the VRA analysis. And so only thing that is left is for anyone who wants to submit an individual map. And if they want to make some changes, we gave them a 1 o'clock deadline to do so.
Yeah, so Commissioner Zatella is saying 3 o'clock would be better
For her?
for her.
I
So,
mean, that's up to the commission as a whole.
okay, I'm gonna call on Commissioner Lang and then Commissioner Zatella, if you want, since we voted on it already, if you want to make a motion, then I guess we can vote again. Commissioner Lang?
Thank you, Madam Chair. I just want to say that I don't plan on submitting a personal map, an individual map, but I know the first time around, I had a lot of technical issues with my maps, and I was allotted extra time. So I think if we're looking at just one individual's map, I would be okay with giving her till 3 o'clock. I don't think one map is going to make an over amount of extra work for our contractors. And I would just say do it unless we have like 20 that were being sent, or 13 individual maps, then I might be like, no, that's too much. But if it's just going to be one, can we just, for unity's sakes, give her till 3 o'clock. So I'm gonna make the motion that we give until 3 o'clock today for individual maps. Thank you.
Is there a second?
I'll second that.
Okay, so we have a motion and a second to give until 3 o'clock for people to submit individual maps. Is there any more discussion? Commissioner Kellum.
I just wanted to clarify, sorry, I was commuting. For individual maps, they get passed forward without a vote. Is that what is currently in the procedure? I know we're not voting on procedure today, but I did want to ask that question.
That is what the procedure said, that as far as I understood.
This is Sarah Reinhardt, just to clarify, that's something that I'm working with your legal team to review. So the process that I just showed for deliberations, it did outline what was done in 2021. And that is the process that the commission followed in 2021, was that individual maps went through to public comment. Of course, the commission would, those maps in 2021 were subject to a full vote of the commission for the actual vote to adopt a map after the public comment period was over. But for advancing to the public comment period back then, they were just advanced straight through without a vote. So consulting with your legal team to figure out if that's applicable for this round or not. And we'll bring additional details on that on Monday.
Okay, thank you. Just for the purpose of discussion, I don't see any reason why there should be any individual maps just because we are tasked with drawing collaboratively. And for the most part, that was done. And I think there's also been maps, including mine, where folks have had very heavy weigh-in for one reason or another. So, I know it boils down to a vote, but I'm not in favor of anyone submitting an individual map. Thank you.
Commissioner Lang.
A little bit of rebuttal in that the reason for the individual maps is because it's in our Constitution. So that's a constitutional right of the individuals on this commission to submit a map of their own. So that's why the discussion is here, I think. Thank you.
Commissioner Zatella.
Yeah, I was just gonna second the same thing. The ability to submit an individual map is actually in the Constitution itself, which is why we have to follow that procedure. So we can't just arbitrarily decide that no one gets to do individual maps because it is enshrined in the Constitution.
Commissioner Kellum.
I have to go. And it's also in the Constitution for us to be honest and produce honest work, not influenced by outside sources or individuals for personal gain. And I'll just leave that there. So that's why I was trying to respectfully, without being specific, say that I'm against individual maps.
Commissioner Orton, could I have a point of order and just a reminder that we're not supposed to be personally attacking other commissioners during meetings, even if we are doing it obliquely?
Okay, Commissioner Zatella, we can do that offline. I can call you and discuss it.
It's.
Are we ready to vote?
Please.
Okay, we have a motion and a second to give commissioners until 1 o'clock today to submit. I'm sorry, 3 o'clock today to submit their individual maps. All in favor, raise your hand and say aye.
Aye.
Aye. All opposed, raise your hand and say nay.
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 Maybe we need a roll call.
Certainly, Madam Chair. The motion is for commissioners to be able to provide individual maps today by 3 p.m. A yes vote means that you are in favor of that motion, and a no vote means that you are not in favor of the motion, and then you also have the ability to abstain. I will start with Commissioner Andrade.
Yes.
Thank you. Commissioner Callahan.
Yes.
Commissioner Curry,
Yes.
Commissioner Ede,
Yes.
Commissioner Kellum,
No.
Commissioner Lang,
Yes. Yes.
Commissioner Lett,
No.
Commissioner Muldoon,
Yes.
Commissioner Orton,
Yes.
Commissioner Zatella,
Yes.
Commissioner Valette,
No.
Commissioner Wagner,
Yes.
Commissioner Weiss,
No.
with 9 yes votes and 4 no votes, the motion carries. Thank you.
Thank you.
Excuse me, Madam Chair, I
Yes.
just want to make sure whoever's submitting individual maps that they copy me for quality assurance so that we can identify and make sure that they're processed.
Okay. So anyone submitting individual maps, please contact Director Woods. Okay, so I believe it was stated that nobody wants to make any additional mapping changes. Raise your hand and let us know if you do want to do any mapping right now. I don't see any. So are there any announcements then?
Just want to remind everyone that we do meet remotely. Please don't come back to Detroit. We won't be here, commissioners, but we definitely welcome the feedback from Detroit remotely on this coming Monday at 9:00 a.m. 9:00 a.m. For everyone that wants to provide public comment, you can do so remotely for 90 seconds. You will also have the chance to go to our public comment portal as well. So definitely want to encourage some public feedback as the commission continues its deliberations. And once again, next week, they are only deciding which maps to move forward. We will be back in Detroit for a public hearing on February 15th. We'll announce that next week as to our location, and we will have maps that the public can look at and respond and put public comments on, starting that Monday, February 5th. With regards to that, and just want to be able to, actually it'll be that Friday, February 2nd, you can start putting comments on the maps that are being considered. And once again, those will move from draft maps to draft proposed maps. And you will see that change on the commission's homepage. So really want to encourage a robust discussion as relates to that and wanting to hear from the public through our public comment portal, our mapping comment portal, or if you come in person to the public hearing on Thursday, February 15th. That will be an afternoon and an evening session, where the commission will entertain public comment. Once again, thank you so much for that, letting me make that announcement.
Thank you, Director Woods. So as the items on the agenda are completed and we have no further business today, I would entertain a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
Second.
It's moved and seconded that we adjourn. All in favor, raise your hand and say aye.
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 Any opposed, raise your hand and say nay. We are adjourned at 11:03 a.m.